Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the JayBee Milly channel. I am JayBee and I've just finished watching the 5th episode of HBO Max's new Velma show and I have an awful lot to say about it. Now before we get into that, I just want to say that for all we do try and stay relatively spoiler free with these videos, there is always a chance that we hint at something a bit too heavily or we go into some things that you may want to shy away from until you've watched the episode for yourself. So if you do want to go in and completely spoiler free, I do recommend watching the 5th episode of Velma before watching this video and then coming back and possibly sharing your thoughts in the comment section as well. Without further ado, we'll get into it. Now, I'm gonna be a bit iffy with this video because it's the first episode of Velma that I've just gone away from feeling a whole lot of nothing. You know, there's been episodes where I've left feeling surprisingly entertained, if I can say that, or there's been some episodes where I've just left it absolutely disgusted. But in this, I just kind of feel, I don't know, not bored, but there's no real drive for me to watch the next one because always consistently throughout the series, it's been a morbid curiosity where I've just been like, I have to watch the next one. Like, I can't not see this through, if that makes sense. I know Charlie or Moist Critical compared it to that morbid curiosity you get when looking at like a car crash. I don't know about that, but for me personally, it was almost like, I can't not see this through now. But with this, I'm kind of like, if I couldn't watch the next episode, I wouldn't be heartbroken. So I don't know if anyone else has thought that. I mean, even the haters that I hate watching this, did you leave this feeling less hateful and more meh? I don't know, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting at this point. And I don't know if it's down to fatigue of the show or if, you know, the whole shock factor of things is just becoming business as usual right now. But that's just kind of my initial thoughts. Now, kind of tackling this through what we see in the episode, there's a bit of hijinks with Velma and some drama in the school. It's kind of a bit of bleed over from the previous episode, which I wasn't a huge fan of. Now, in the reaction video that I did with Milly, it did grow on me slightly. I think I appreciated a little bit more of the other things as opposed to that initial shocked, disgusted response at all the weird stuff going on with the female representation in that last episode. But here, there is some redeeming qualities with this episode. Every time Daphne is on screen, I want to say I'm genuinely having a good time. The thing is, we actually get introduced to the most Scooby-Doo thing so far in this series from Daphne's initial interaction in this episode. The kind of issue is the dialogue. Like, we get the atmosphere, we get the build-up, but then there seems to be the need for someone to say something stupid or ridiculous to kill the tension or to kill the scary vibes. And to that end, I'm in two minds. A part of me is thinking that they're trying to replicate the Marvel formula where they'll give us a serious moment or they'll give us a moment of genuine tension, but then a character has to make a quippy one-liner, either one, to replicate the success of Marvel, or two, I'm thinking it's actually possibly to lighten the tone, which for an adult series I don't quite understand. It's almost like they're expecting families to watch this and they want the adults to enjoy the scary bits, but they want something for the kids to laugh at as well so it isn't too scary. Very, very weird directional choice for an adult piece of animation, you know. I'm pretty sure that even Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, for all there were absolutely hilarious moments in that series from the writing and the character performances from people like Patrick Warburton, but with this it's like I kind of feel like with Mystery Incorporated compared to this, that series allowed itself to be serious when it needed to. A point that's instantly sticking out to me is when Fred and Daphne have that exchange where Fred opens up to why he's being such a control freak in terms of, you know, dealing with the loss of his parents and how he doesn't want to lose anyone else. Now that was a great moment, and for that series I almost wouldn't have blamed it if then we had Scooby popping up, like, you know, and making some jokes about one time he lost his food. But they didn't do that. They just let it sit there and be somber. And that's kind of what I wanted from this series. But no, we are just given a bit of seriousness and then either some unfunny dialogue or something that completely kills the tension. And I really don't know why they did that. Another thing that people really disagree with me about is the characterization of Fred in this. People absolutely hate Fred, but you know what? I stand by that. He's not the most likable, of course not, and he's definitely not the best person. But in terms of what I go to watch a comedy for, I do think Fred is the funniest out of the whole bunch, you know. So you can argue whether that's good or bad, but I think like the most times that I've laughed has been through the Freddy character, and I guess maybe you can put that down to. I know people like to throw the word agenda around, and I don't really know about that, but the kind of spirit of Fred is we're definitely, or at least I'm definitely not laughing with him. It definitely is more of an at him moment, you know, more often than not. But I do think that there is sometimes that I'm laughing at, I guess, his misunderstandings of things. Like, I guess I can say spoilers about the previous episode, but when he was going into the things about Mystique, the feminist Mystique, and the X-Men reference, obviously it wasn't, in my opinion anyway, masterful writing, but I think it was enough to almost give him, like, what they were trying to accomplish in the earlier episodes, almost that childlike wonderment. I don't know, something about that himbo Fred was working for me. Maybe I'm just associating it more with that Freddie Prinze Jr. type of archetype, but that's kind of what I was getting from that. Now, one thing that I consistently hate about this series is Velma, and that's no exception in this episode as well. We did see at the end of the last episode that there's hints that Norval is going to be taking a new direction in this series and with his own life in general, and we definitely see that in full force in this episode. The issue is, it is, again, bog standard teen drama stuff where now Velma, again, not going into spoilers, but now, of course, Velma finds herself in a position that narratively she needs Norval, and so her way of expressing that or trying to make, you know, to meet that end is trying to sabotage what Norval has found now, which is like, I don't know if the writers or Mindy Kaling, Charlie Grandy, if they're expecting audience members to root for Velma in this pursuit. I mean, we have witnessed 4 episodes of Velma treating Norval quite badly, to be honest, and so now that there's a chance for Norval to find happiness, I really don't know what the showrunners are thinking about now that Velma is almost coming in as the villain to that. I do think that there's a bit of lack of self-awareness on the creatives' part within this, where they assume that Velma's going to be our favourite character going into this. I do feel like that's very much an aspect of things. But, I mean, that's neither here nor there. The episode doesn't take that too seriously, thank goodness. But the fact that that was very much on the cards for the first half of the episode is a bit... I don't know, it wasn't great. It wasn't great at all. But moving on with the plot, again, it's a divide. It's a bit like the last episode in that one section I'm thinking, when are we going to go back to the other plot? When are we going to go back to the other story? But then when they do, I'm actually quite intrigued. Now, that's in reference to Velma's story, I think is just as, if not less than compelling than Daphne's story. And so I still don't understand why this show's called Velma. I feel like it would have been better off calling it Daphne and Velma, but then maybe they wanted to kind of disassociate themselves from the movie, and of course there's the book series under the same name, so it would be a bit odd to have a third Daphne and Velma. But I do feel like there is no reason for this to be Velma's show at this point, and that's not a dig at the series. In fact, I do feel like I would feel better knowing that the show wasn't going to continue to impose that Velma's the main character, when in actual fact I'm invested in just about everyone else. But I don't know, there's a lot of decisions that I would have made. I think when the dust has settled on this series, I do very much want to try and rewrite each episode, but keeping a lot of the core components the same, such as design, cast, general plotline, because I just want to see if I do things a bit better. I don't know though, please let me know if you want to see the kind of Velma fixed series on this channel. Maybe we do it, maybe we don't, depending on the feedback from people. But yeah. Now we get to the actual title, the marching band sleepover, which didn't play as much of a part in this episode as I thought it did. And in fact, I think there's even one screenshot from that we got, I think, what was it? It was Scooby-Doo Italy, and also Scooby News that were leaking, or not, I don't know if they were leaking. They posted the screenshots way back when we were analysing them. And I actually do think there's one of them that was meant to be in this episode that wasn't there. And I know that deleted scenes and animation are quite rare when it comes to the grand scheme of things. So I'm curious to know where that comes from. Maybe I just missed it. It was that screenshot of Velma standing on the coffee table, seemingly making some type of speech. I don't think I caught that. Now, I was wrong in that there wasn't two separate parties, but again, this is just extra details now. Going back to what I did like, when we get to this marching band sleepover, Daphne's story is then coming to full fruition. So we can kind of have fun and games in Velma's part, I think, maybe. And actually, there were some sections that I think could have been more entertaining, but the way that they built it up was actually pretty good. I did enjoy a lot of the stuff with the marching band sleepover and everything like that. But Daphne's story was just, it saw some great growth in this episode. And I want to say they utilised an Easter egg, which could have just been a throwaway gag, but the way it played out, I actually think was kind of scary. And it's so weird, I don't want to give too much away. But they've played with a few Hanna-Barbera characters in a darker tone in this series, including, of course, the Mystery Inc. guy. But I think that they've done the others a bit better. Now, of course, it's easy to make something work visually or to make something work for one joke. It's a lot more difficult to make things work for a series, I understand that. But I do think that this crew could have done a better job doing, like, and I'm just going to say random Hanna-Barbera stuff now, so don't dig too much into this, but an adult Huckleberry Hound series or an adult Jetsons series, I think they could have done better with a property with less, I guess, new things going on. Like, and I don't know, it's just my feeling. I wouldn't dislike if this exact same crew, team, whatever, were gonna just completely forget about Velma, but we're gonna do what they teased in that initial teaser and do like a Jane Jetson show. Like, I'd be there for that. Like, come on. Like, I do think that they're actually shining in areas where they probably shouldn't be, and they're falling flat on areas that they've put at the forefront. So it is a bit of a shame, but I don't think there's much else that I can say about this episode apart from the fact that it's a mixed bag. But maybe I'm getting used to it. Maybe I'm just kind of getting in with the groove of things a bit. I'm not quite sure, because I actually do want to watch the next episode, but again, like I say, I don't feel much after watching it. I just watched it. I saw it, the same way that I've just seen anything in any episode of television. It was just there. So maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of the episode, and if you do want to see more content surrounding this, such as an Easter egg breakdown, because there's a few Easter eggs in this episode that I'm really looking forward to talking about, and also other content such as the reaction, then please like, comment and subscribe to JayBee Milly.